Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, after dropping 50 points on the Chicago Bears, will head out to face Lamar Jackson, the two-time MVP, and the Baltimore Ravens. We are fired up for this Monday Night Football matchup. Think of it, two great football teams. One of these teams, barring a tie, will be 1-2 and very disappointed with the start of their football season. Now, we have to start with Baltimore because their season and the way it looked through three quarters against Buffalo week 1 was incredible. Easily looked like the best team, even with the Green Bay Packers dominating Detroit at home at Lambeau Field. Still, Baltimore looked like, wow, this team just has even maybe a notch above that because of the ability of, like I said earlier, two-time MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson, having that caliber of what he brings above a guy like Jordan Love. Don't know if anyone's going to argue with that. They end up losing that game. But from what I saw, what the eyeballs told me was that Baltimore still is more physical than Buffalo. Sometimes those types of games, they just wind up happening that way. A team just was meant to go out there and win. Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in all of football, fumbles the ball when he just does not do that. That just sums it up with those types of plays. Now, for Detroit, going into this game, the entire week, they will have been told how good they are, how amazing the offense looked, how great Amon-Ra St. Brown is after that monstrous performance against the Chicago Bears. But hold off of that. The Bears' best player, Jalen Johnson, was injured really early in that second half. The defense doesn't get pressure. Detroit clearly has better trenches. Enough with the positive talk about the game against Chicago. You need to get mentally right and prepared for Baltimore. I know Dan Campbell is doing that because there's nobody that maybe talks about physicality more and the importance of punching someone in the face over and over and over again until they just quit and don't get back off the mat. So I'm not expecting a lackluster performance against Baltimore, but what I am sort of leaning towards is what we've seen Lamar Jackson do to NFC opponents time and time again. See, he shows you that he has his legs, that he is, without a doubt, the most dangerous ball carrier in the league with the football in his hands when he gets to the edge. We saw that. We saw how good he was against Cleveland. They ran the ball for 45 yards. Lamar threw for 4 touchdowns. Looked like that Lamar Jackson is just the best football player on the field, making plays. That game is not even remotely close in the second half. You have a sense that it just gets in your head sometimes after you come off of a win like that. And you immediately forget a little bit about that bad taste against Green Bay. And when I look at the Green Bay Packers and the way they've played through 2 weeks, and I've looked at Baltimore, the way they've played, I can equate their ability way closer to what we saw from Chicago and what their caliber offensive line play is, and even what their secondary, what their defense as a whole looks like, what the offense looks like. You have two teams that are just humming on offense. Jordan Love is throwing to wide open guys against Detroit. Lamar Jackson, he's just operating this offense. Derrick Henry's running over people. That we understand these teams are firing. The Bears, that thing is going to take a year, 2 years to get to the point where Baltimore and Green Bay or Detroit are right now. So I am concerned because I just don't believe the Bears brought enough product, high enough ability on the field to challenge Detroit to prepare them for this game. That's where the mentality, that's where the impact of good coaching really comes into play, and where I'm concerned that Ben Johnson isn't in that room with Jared Goff to immediately erase all the positive talk and get him working on the things that he missed, the throws that he did not have in that game. Going back to the way you felt after that loss against Green Bay, how badly you wanted to go out there, start pressing that red button as many times as you could to restart the season. Baltimore's a different animal. That physicality that they bring. Zay Flowers immediately looks like he's elevated his game to be a difference maker. Are we waiting for Mark Andrews to put his handprints on one of these games? I think we are. and I believe we see it against Detroit. Now, they've got a guy in Brian Branch, and we got to talk about this play for a second. We knew out of Alabama he was going to be good, and Detroit's, we look at it, have drafted well. But that play on DeAndre Swift for the Bears look like they've got something going, and bam, pow, flat out, green mouth guard flying, probably teeth flying for Swift. Ball's out, Lions recover. But what I did not like is that Detroit didn't do anything with that next possession. They had a 3rd and 1 and then a 4th and 1 where they showed the physicality. That's what has me conflicted so much with this matchup here is they came out. The Bears tried to QB sneak. 3rd and 1, stuffed Caleb. 4th and 1, stuffed Caleb again. Talk about a physical team. Talk about Tyleik Williams, your first-round pick out of Columbus for the Ohio State Buckeyes. A little bit of national championship pedigree. How about Aidan Hutchinson on the edge with these guys? How about Isaac Teslaw out of Iowa with the one-handed grab? We have guys that have been very large impact players that we know are physical. We got to see more out of Isaac Teslaw. Dan Campbell said it himself. But yeah, I just get the sense that it's exciting. It's a lot. But Baltimore has another level to them that even Green Bay didn't show in that Week 1 game. And that is the elements and the ability of Lamar Jackson. You know that Josh Jacobs has wheels. He's a good runner, but Green Bay didn't run the ball out that well. That's what frightens me the most. Green Bay did not run the ball great against Detroit in Week 1. It wasn't effective. They even didn't do a great job against Washington. I give that absolutely a plus to the Lions in that category. They did a good job defending the run against Chicago. Baltimore is different. So I have to say that I am taking Baltimore to win this game. All of this stuff I've laid out. We're speaking on two teams that have just been pointed in the right direction, and the trajectories have been good. That the Lions, without the injuries, the whole offseason, we're saying this team is, again, Super Bowl caliber. They absolutely are. Ravens are favored. But I'm going to take Baltimore to beat Detroit by a score of 34-26. And besides a couple of things I've already laid out, here is a couple more examples and some stuff that really gets me interested in the X's and O's, of course, but also with what these teams have at stake. Because this is one of those out-of-conference games. Detroit's got a string of these, right? They've got at Baltimore, then the Browns, the Bengals without Joe Burrow, and then the Kansas City Chiefs. 4 out-of-conference games with the competition is just different without Burrow on that schedule. But Baltimore is the toughest team that they'll see from a physical standpoint over the next couple of weeks. I necessarily don't think it's a bad thing if they get punched in the face, maybe lose a game in a matter to Baltimore that hasn't feeling bad, that gets them fired up down the stretch for a couple more of these big games against AFC opponents, to where they can pull off a couple wins against the Browns and Cincinnati before they have that game at Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. Now, for Baltimore, you're hearing all of that. How does that show relevance? You're just talking this up. You're saying positive things about us. Now, I remember watching Malachi Stark's Georgia games. I saw what Mike Green did in his only really big game he played in college to the Ohio State Buckeyes when he came up with 2 sacks early in the season last year. This guy can flat out play. Roquan Smith with a touchdown last week, showing off the wheels. Detroit Lions fans know him pretty well. Marlon Humphrey, good as ever. Kyle Hamilton, arguably the best safety in the National Football League. That's right, I'm throwing shade. Kirby Joseph, go out there and make a play. Shut me up. You've been great. The level of play has been there. Brian Branch, these guys are loaded absolutely on that D line, and when they're healthy, Detroit is one of the best defensive units. Baltimore and Detroit, it gets you excited. We talked about maybe some of the X's O's statistics. These are the only 2 teams in football that have put up a combined 1,000 points over the last 2 seasons, right? They've each combined for over 1,000 offensive points over the last 2 years. Really great offensive football. Just moving the ball down the field. Everything is composed and together. The weapons that Detroit has and what they present with J-Mo on the outside and Amon-Ra St. Brown, his versatility. It looks like Tisla looks really good. The tight end, we have to get the tight end going, Sam Laporta. It's time for him to show up in a big way in a moment. I'm a big believer that the tight ends will have good impacts in this game. I know that there are guys for Detroit that can go out there and cover Mike Andrews, but they don't have a Roquan Smith that can line up and match up with line up with Sam Laporta and take that out of the middle. That can deliver hits over the middle that just leave you not exactly, if you're Jared Goff, wanting to test that middle of the field, seeing Roquan Smith and that Georgia Bulldog in him that comes out from time to time that just makes it, I don't know about the middle of the field. Jahmyr Gibbs, this is that type of day where he needs to break one. It's going to be tough yards on that inside. That's where David Montgomery believe that he gets more carries in this one. They're going to go to him where he brings that element, that pound, right? Lowering the shoulder instead of the speed. You have to mix that up, sure, but getting it done, there will be hard yards, 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and short where you have to come up with the yards. David Montgomery, that's really key that they get that inside push. Tate Ratledge, the kid they bring in from Georgia, Georgia Bulldogs we're talking about here, but he's going to have to play well on the interior. You just have the sense, though, that Baltimore has that element, and I brought it up earlier, and that's why I believe in them. So I'm curious what you have to say about this game. Who do you think wins? I believe that the Baltimore Ravens right now are the best team in football. I know they lost to Buffalo, but I still have them as number one, even over the Philadelphia Eagles. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with it. Let me know down below in the comments what you think, why my 34-26 pick of the Baltimore Ravens will be incorrect or right. Let me know if it's right as well. I just want it to be stressed across here. We're about positivity, bringing energy, enthusiasm to the game, spreading just love. We love watching football as much as anything. It's so fun that football is back. Remember, a couple weeks ago we didn't have it. Now that it is back, couple of 1-1 teams. I know Lions or Ravens fans will be stressing at some point for this one. Just take a deep breath. Get ready to enjoy it because these types of matchups, especially under the lights, Monday Night Football in a great city like Baltimore, very similar to Detroit, a couple of great cities in the United States. But let me know down below. Please subscribe for more football content in the future. We make NFL college football content every single day. We will continue to do so because it's the favorite thing for us to do at Blitz at Blender. So I appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Thank you.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blender. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Blender.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.